Hello, and welcome back to the Dusty Codex. When we think of the dawn of civilization, we think of Egypt and Mesopotamia. We think of pharaohs and ziggurats. But there was a third giant in the room, one that was larger, more populous, and in many ways, more advanced than its famous cousins. This was the Indus Valley Civilization. At its peak, it covered 1 million square kilometers across modern-day Pakistan and India. It was home to 5 million people, nearly 10% of the world's population at the time. We are always curious to know where our stories are traveling to and where your corner of the world is. Please let us know in the comments where you are watching from today. Also, we value your feedback. Let us know what ancient mysteries you want us to cover next. They were a civilization of peace. Unlike the war-obsessed Assyrians or the Egyptians, the Indus people left behind almost no evidence of armies, slavery, or massive conquests. They conquered the world not with swords, but with engineering. And then, after 700 years of prosperity, the lights went out. The cities were abandoned. The writing was forgotten. The people vanished into the hills. It is the greatest disappearing act in human history. For thousands of years, the civilization was completely forgotten. Its rediscovery began with an act of destruction. In the 1850s, British railway engineers in the Punjab needed ballast for their tracks. They found mounds of perfect, hard-baked bricks nearby and used them to build the railroad. They didn't realize they were dismantling the ruins of Harappa, a 4,000-year-old city. They were literally running modern trains over the bones of an ancient metropolis. It wasn't until the 1920s that archaeologists like Sir John Marshall and R.D. Banerjee began to dig properly. What they found shocked the world. This wasn't just a local tribe, it was a contemporary of the pyramids. They uncovered Mohenjo-Daro, the Mound of the Dead. It was a city of stunning complexity, but unlike the chaotic streets of medieval London or ancient Rome, this city was planned. The cities of the Indus were built on a grid system, thousands of years before New York City. The streets were oriented north-south and east-west to catch the prevailing winds, providing natural air conditioning. But their true obsession was water. Almost every house had a private bathing area and a flush toilet connected to a centralized sewage system. While the kings of Europe were throwing chamber pots out of windows in the 17th century AD, the citizens of the Indus Valley had covered drains and manholes in 2500 BC. They were the greatest plumbers of the ancient world. Their most famous structure wasn't a palace or a temple to a god king, it was a public pool. The Great Bath suggests a culture that valued ritual cleanliness and public utility over the glorification of rulers. They had massive granaries with air ducts to keep the grain dry. This was a society built on surplus, trade, and organization, managed by a bureaucracy that remains invisible to us. They were also master sailors. At Lothal, they built the world's first known tidal dockyard. They traded jewelry, ivory, and timber with Mesopotamia, where they were known as the Meluha. Yet, we know so little about who they were. We call their most famous statue the Priest King, but we have no evidence they had priests or kings. There are no massive statues of rulers, no list of conquests. Instead, their art is intimate. A bronze dancing girl with a confident posture. Terracotta toys of ox carts with movable wheels. Whistles shaped like birds. This was a society that seemingly valued the joy of daily life. The greatest barrier to understanding them is their voice. They left thousands of seals covered in a script that no one can read. It is the holy grail of linguistics. Without the script, they are silent. We don't know their names. We don't know their gods. We don't even know what they called themselves. Indus Valley is just a name we gave them. Yet, their standardization was terrifyingly precise. A brick in the north was the exact same ratio as a brick in the south, 1,000 miles away. This implies a powerful, unifying ideology or government, but one that left no monuments to itself. Archaeologists have looked for the palace of the emperor. They haven't found it. They looked for the Great Temple. It's not there. What they found instead were clean, high-quality houses for almost everyone. This has led to a radical theory. Was the Indus Valley Civilization an egalitarian utopia? A massive, complex society that managed to thrive without the whip of a tyrant? If these stories, where the past challenges our assumptions about power and society, are what you seek, I invite you to subscribe to the Dusty Codex. Your support allows us to keep exploring these lost alternatives to history. Around 900 BC, something changed. The order began to crumble. The Great Bath was built over. The drains clogged. The standard weights disappeared. The civilization entered a slow, agonizing death spiral. For decades, historians blamed the Aryans. In the 1920s, Mortimer Wheeler famously accused the Aryan war god Indra of destroying the cities. He pointed to a group of skeletons found in the streets of Mohenjo-Daro. But modern science has debunked the massacre. The skeletons show no signs of battle trauma. There was no single day of fire and sword. The killer was much slower and much more powerful. The killer was the climate. Around 2200 BC, a mega drought hit the entire globe. The monsoons, which fed the rivers of the Indus, began to fail. Satellite imagery reveals the dry bed of a massive ancient river, often identified as the lost Saraswati. As the rains failed, this river dried up completely, leaving hundreds of cities stranded in a new desert. Simultaneously, the Indus River likely shifted its course violently. The gentle lifeline became a destroyer, flooding cities and then moving miles away, leaving ports like Lothal landlocked. The people had no choice. They voted with their feet. We see a massive migration pattern. They abandoned the large organized cities of the West and moved east towards the Ganges Plain. In this migration, they de-urbanized. They lost the knowledge of writing. They forgot how to make the perfect bricks. They returned to a simpler village life to survive the changing climate. The great bureaucracy dissolved. Without the cities, the script was no longer needed for trade and it vanished. The civilization didn't die, it disassembled. But did they truly disappear? Genetic studies show that the ancestral South Indians are the direct descendants of the Indus Valley people. They are the ancestors of hundreds of millions of people living in South Asia today. Their culture survived in the shadows. The yoga positions, the worship of Shiva-like figures, the sacredness of the pipal tree, the way bangles are worn. These are living fossils of the Indus world. Travel to a village in Sindh or Punjab today, and you will see ox carts that look exactly like the toys found in the ruins. The technology of the village survived even when the technology of the city failed. The Indus Valley Civilization teaches us a frightening lesson. They were sustainable, peaceful, and technologically advanced. And yet, when the climate turned against them, even their brilliant engineering couldn't save their way of life. They built for the ages. Their bricks were so well made that they hold up the railways of Pakistan today. One day, perhaps with AI, we will crack their code. We will finally hear the voices of the merchants, the mothers, and the builders who walk these streets. Until then, they remain the silent ancestors, the ghosts in the brickwork, the third giant that time forgot. The river gave them life, and the river took it away. From the mud of the Indus, they rose to touch the sky, only to return to the earth. Thank you so much for watching this investigation into the vanished world of the Indus Valley. If you enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of the ancient world and want to support our work, please consider liking and subscribing. Your support helps us keep the history alive. Until next time, stay curious.